All right, hello everyone. Is everybody back? Okay. I'd like to thank everyone here from the Karachi chapter of the Institute of Architects Pakistan for inviting me to speak here today with such distinguished speakers from all over the planet Earth. The theme of our conference here is emerging architecture, and looking at this, I thought about it. And I put myself in perspective with this theme. Well, this one. It's okay? Okay, so I should speak louder. So today, I would like to talk to you about continuity in a chain of changes. I would like to talk to you about evolution of an architect in practice, research, and in architecture, I call it RE times 6, because I guess, I don't know, among the guest speakers today, I may be the oldest, and if I'm emerging at this time, at my age, I don't know where I'm going to go, so I want to say I'm re-emerging. So put that in your mind, okay? I'm re-emerging. So this re is the theme. Relocation was part of my saga in life. Redirection is also something that I've done throughout my career. And return, you will see in my life path. What is this? Realization, as I'm always realizing the mistakes I make, and revitalization for something that I've been involved in the last 7 years. And again, reemerge, hopefully, again and again. Well, this is my life path. I started out, I was born in Japan, in Tokyo, moved to Detroit, moved back to Tokyo, went to San Francisco, lived in Boston, lived in Los Angeles, moved to New York, and back to Tokyo in 1997. But more than that, I'm back to Asia, and that's what's important for me. So I will talk about education. This is when I was flying in an airplane in an amusement park. This was forecast to my journey of life. Already I was being exposed to modern technology. I wanted to be a train conductor in my childhood, then an airline pilot. Then even in high school, I was dreaming to become an astronaut. But unfortunately, my grades in mathematics deteriorated. In addition, my eyesight was not 20/20. So I was recommended to enter architecture school. In 1959, at the age of 8, our family moved to the United States. Where I landed was a city called Detroit, where they made cars. I saw for the first time an international border. You know, Japan is surrounded by ocean, a body of water, so we don't really have an international borders to cross to get to another country. This was an enlightening moment in my life, sort of a revelation about landscape, land. And then in 1964, we relocated to the West Coast city of San Francisco. Here, I became aware that I'm an Asian. Although I'm an American by citizenship, the people saw me as Chinese, Korean, maybe sometimes Japanese. It didn't matter. As long as I told them I was one of these nationalities, everyone was happy. So since that experience, I wanted to be in Asia someday, to live and work as an Asian. As I gave up becoming astronaut and entered an architecture school, The university in my first semester as a freshman was in turmoil. It was about the Vietnam War. I was suddenly on strike, throwing rocks and showered with tear gas. It was the student movement days in the United States. I fought these blue meanies with rock throwing. But as an architecture student and an Asian, we founded a community design group helping an Asian community around the San Francisco Bay Area. The group was called the Asian Neighborhood Design. We helped the elderly citizens on the verge of eviction in the name of redevelopment by drawing alternative proposals to the city agencies. We helped the Asian communities' festivals by planning the event. And this youthful effort, 30 years later, has become an established community advocacy organization, very active still in San Francisco. So in Berkeley, I learned about vernacular architecture, contextual architecture, and architecture in nature, and also about urban architecture. You can turn it, well, okay. This is a photo of a Hyatt Regency Hotel designed by John Portman. It was sort of an innovative, big atrium urban space. And, oh, lots of arrangements, thank you. Okay. At the same time, nature and architecture, Charles Moore and his Sea Ranch was very close to where I was living. And so I learned about non-pretentious architecture. Then I went to the East Coast. Well, I wanted to pursue design after my community work. So I went to Boston in an institution which taught the international style and the modernism. So I studied here, you may know, a big factory. My teachers were Corbusian, and I keep on getting these messages and I don't know what to do. Jose Louis Cert was there. Le Corbusier's disciples were my teachers. And then I was taught by Mr. Coleman, who designed Boston City Hall in a brutal sense. After graduation, I wanted to be in Asia, so I interviewed for a job with a well-known Japanese architect. I waited for 1 year driving the yellow cab, which was a life experience. But the oil crisis, which came at the end, denied my being employed in Japan. So I drifted to the Great Plains of Los Angeles, where there was no particular culture at that time. No Frank Gehry, no Tom Main, no Eric Owen Moss, just Disneyland and highway structures. Eventually, I again drifted, this time to Manhattan, New York. It was a center of design culture with the Museum of Modern Art, Philip Johnson, the godfather of the architects for a long time. I met many great architects there. But I had enough of the United States of America. So I packed up my practice and left for Asia. So it was redirection. And I started my practice in Japan, initially starting to do projects in New York for Japanese clients in Japan. And this was one of the first projects that I worked on back in mid-'80s. It was a theater project, Cineplex project, in the industrial city of Kawasaki, which is adjacent to Tokyo. The air was bad, it was gray. The gray was associated with that kind of industry. And it was, the city was going through redevelopment. So I took the colors, color gray, and interpreted it more in a high-tech sense. Using, in the urban context, taking different axes into consideration for this project, sort of came up with a Cineplex project in the urban mall that has several axes negotiated by the building volumes. With some grand staircases and modern theater, there's about seven theaters within this complex. One of the earlier Cineplex projects in Japan. And then for the same client, I went into nature in a place called Karachi, which is a very posh international resort that was founded or was developed back in 1920s. Mostly Germans were there. Germans and Japanese were there during the summertime and so on. It was a project, a white cube that sort of deconstructed, in a sense, sort of negotiated the nature which was surrounding the volume. 9.8 meter cube, sort of having different projections and carving out. It's sort of a process of entering the box, coming in the mid-level, going up or down, half level, sort of going down into nature, sort of setting a stage for negotiating and experiencing this surrounding landscape. And then, 1997, I went back, looking to experience Asia. Like Taka here, who you heard yesterday, I think he's still a young architect, has been in practice perhaps maybe 10 years or so, has done a lot of projects. Well, I'm about 15 years older than him, or 10 years or so, but I had to start like a kindergarten kid in a new neighborhood back in '97, started this small practice. I got one project from the local municipality to design a little volunteer fire station in the park. A very simple building with one small fire engine and sort of emergency evacuation sort of a storage facility. Very simple building. But it was located in a park fronting a highway of sorts. So I wanted to create two faces, one within the park using natural material, plaster, and then in the front to face the highway, having sort of a mask of a metallic material, corrugated metal as a facade. Did a lot of studies like this, and finally came up with a very simple building. Usually, to tell a little bit about this volunteer fire station, it's usually like a building, a small shed that has a shutter, and you don't know what's going on. It's almost like, it looks like a storage as sort of a prototype. But I have to open this up. This is a closed building to the public, especially in the park where kids play, and to light this up at night so that they can look into this fire station, look at the fire engine and so on. I even put the signage in English, and the mayor couldn't read it. But he felt good because he felt that the city was becoming and so on. I also put the old bell that is sort of symbolic in a volunteer fire station in Japan back from, it was in storage, but to symbolize this small building as a fire station. A little bit of a cultural kind of a connotation. A project, a residential quarters for a monk in a temple just outside of Tokyo in Chiba. You can see this is the temple grounds. Adjacent lot is a kindergarten owned by the temple. As you can see here, there are many different kinds of roofs, traditional roofs, some modern roofs, and so on. Well, I decided to play with the roofs. Of course, and educated in the. I didn't really know much about different styles of traditional architecture in Japan like this. So, this is the site is here. Actually, the former yard of this priest's quarters. It's an addition where kids grown up is going to live. So I decided to take that undulating or vaulted roof of the kindergarten and sort of extended it here towards the entrance to the kindergarten. The children pass by here every morning, and I wanted to make this a bit whimsical for the children, like the face of the principal or teacher of the residence of the principal, welcoming the children every morning, saying good morning and a smile. Also, the idea of this building sort of penetrating or the ground and growing like almost like a lotus flower, having this sort of upward movement at the same time having a sort of whimsical kind of expression towards the street. The bay window is another feature upstairs, where on both sides there are two sets of bay windows that sort of has this curvilinear form, so that you can't see the corners, and so the room sort of expands out from the reinforced concrete wall. It sort of fits like this into the temple. And it thrusts upwards to a small skylight at the top of the stairs, and it sort of opens out to view the temple grounds, as well as on the other side the kindergarten yard. So this is how it ended up. Another project, which by this time I begin to realize, mistakes and regrets and so on. And I decided I want to be honest to myself. Well, this is a house that I did back in 2002, this and the other building, which made me realize that architects, when they, like let's say, a murderer or criminal, once we begin to design, it's almost like we're holding weapons, because it begins to intervene on our natural landscape, our cities, and so on. And no matter how technologically it's excellent, it may be a criminal act in the sense that the urban environment is ruined, or the livability, comfort of the occupied, the clients, so to speak, may be compromised by our, so to speak, the design ability. Well, this is a building that has 4 sides. 3 sides are being very closed, and 1 side very open, because in the adjacent lot is a sort of a farming plot, a lot that is in the middle of Tokyo. This is very rare to have sort of a farm lot in the middle of Tokyo, but it's still there. And of course, same owner. And so I wanted to have these people view their farm grounds every day, but almost protect it like a cave on 3 sides. But the problem is it was facing south, because in Japan you want to face the living rooms to the south. Well, so this is a plan, as you can see, very simple. First floor entry, living, courtyard, so to speak, and dining, and upstairs again, bedrooms lined up. with service on the other side, and basement as a family room. As I lived in Japan by this time, about 5, 6 years, I used to love Japan because it was interesting to come from the United States to come to a country where it's so dense. It's interesting to see the density and the variety of things that's happening, and to take that as inspiration for my design and so on. But as I was living here for so many years, I began to see sort of the urban, the vision. So I wanted to make my buildings disappear conscientiously. So I painted it black. In that sense, it's almost like I don't know if you saw Kabuki theater. In Kabuki, a traditional Japanese theater, on stage, and also bunraku, which is like a puppetry. Up on stage, there are these sort of person who's wearing black that comes around to sort of change their wardrobes in the middle of the act, and you're not supposed to see the person because the person is wearing. They call it kuroko. So I wanted to do that with my building. But in order to work with this the south exposure situation, I proposed a louver like this, which was able to slide and so forth. I mean, very simple solution, and not so innovative, but it sort of brought to this reinforced concrete building some organic kind of sense of organic architecture and material. But it was too expensive, so this is how it ended up, exposed to southern exposure with curtains and so on. But the electric was very high. The client didn't complain because he's my brother-in-law. So I decided I didn't want to build anymore. I didn't want to design anymore. So in one of these kind of symposiums with fellow architects, I declared myself not an architect. I decided to quit designing. This was 2002. But it was interesting because this I took modern sort of a Dutch modernist or the steel kind of ideas in terms of colors and so on. Interior very simple, movable furniture orientation to the building orientation to the farm lot. It would have been nice if the louver was there. I did not have enough energy or I guess power, to convince my brother-in-law to spend another $100,000 US. So this was it, and it's still standing. Now he painted it white last year, and I still like it, but he didn't put the louvers in yet. So another project in the middle of, actually behind Mr. Ando's Omotesando Hills, which is one of the sort of highlight buildings of 2006, which I don't know if it's so successful, and don't tell him that. But it's right behind there, and this is a little restaurant building that I designed. You see the clutter, the visual clutter surrounding the building. I wanted this time to reflect the light and to make this building disappear by covering the building with aluminum panels in different grains, so you can see some sort of a texture there. And making the interior space, because there's no view, all the floor and the two walls with organic material. And upstairs, of course, no views. Bird turds, so to speak, are on the roof of the next door. We wanted to make this atrium space with light, full of light, but no view, sort of in the sense of Japanese paper screen. And then, so I realized about this time, I wanted to not to design, so to speak, in the urban environment. I'm beginning to become aware of my mission in Japan or in Asia. I want to get closer and closer to what is contextual in Asia, Asian sense. So I enter several competitions. One, actually, you can't win competitions all the time, and I've really never won any. Maybe I'm not intense enough. But this was one that I entered in northern extreme weather climate. I think it was judged by John Nouvel and Tadao Ando. I wanted to bring to this region color, because in Japan you have nice grays and reinforced concrete, but it's not like in the tropics or in the Mediterranean. It's not very colorful. The color is not used very intelligently or sensitively. Come to think about it, this looks like Taka's family. So you can see that Taka's wife is bigger than Taka here, and this is great. I dedicate this to Taka. The extreme weather. So I created this jungle gym of natural environment, sort of open space, cavities, and have units within the glass box, so that you have a sort of a nature source months out of a year. And then I joined a couple of my colleagues, Nobuaki Furuya, also a Japanese architect, and Milton Tang from National University of Singapore, in a competition that's actually won by WOHA, Duxton Place Housing. Our proposal was this helical building is actually in the site that sort of brings the ground level all the way up to the 65th floor, by continuous ground plane that brought nature up onto every floor. So it was outdoors, outdoor public space everywhere, all the way to the top. And there were cavities like this on each floor. Here's a hallway. The tenant would take both sides and perhaps make one side, whatever, anything. Could be a kiosk, could be a garden. But idea was that the double-loaded corridor will become a street, an extension, because that, in the Duxton was the theme of how to bring street life up to the upper floors. And of course, WOHA solution addressed to that. This was sort of the sketch like this, and we even had the car park up all the way up to the 60-some floors. But come to think about it, in the morning there would be a chaos, and maybe that's why we didn't win. It'd be a rush hour. So this is what our proposal was. So little by little, I'm beginning to work in Asia, or to try to make projects in Asia. Since 2000, I've been involved in an organization called Modern Asian Architecture Network. And back in the 70s, as I told you, Asian neighborhood design, architect in social responsibility, and also in design and also in heritage, all these being connected in Modern Asian Architecture Network. It's an organization actually to establish and disseminate knowledge regarding the built modern Asian heritage, like our colonial heritage, and also post-colonial heritage of architects, post-colonial first-generation architects of our own region, that are architecture, cities, and landscape. And we have historians, and we have academics, we have government officials, where our is to document and conserve, at the same time revitalize these modern Asian heritage. we just heard earlier that we don't want to be copycats of what's there, just to conserve. So it's a good balance of having historians document, understand, and express what's there, and for us to take over and make projects future. Also to educate public and the next generation of researchers, architects, planners, historians in modern heritage. This is several things, and I think we just finished the book, a industrial heritage workshop, which was done back in 2000 in Shanghai. But this is sort of Rui Liao is here today. He was involved in the first 2001 Guangzhou conception. 2000 was held in Macau. Rui was there. 2000 Singapore, Surabaya, Shanghai, Istanbul. Last year Istanbul, just before. And this year we had one just back in 2006 in November in Tokyo. We had 1,000 attendees. We had Mr. Tadao Ando as a keynote speaker. And this is sort of the photos of various gatherings. I hope you can become a member here after my talk. Here you can see how it works. The organization is called MAN, Modern Asian Architecture Network. Like I said here, 1,000 participants. Actually, we have sort of working relationship even with Arcasia. We just did an Arcasia timeline by one of our members, affiliated with Asia, Asian Academic Academy in Bangkok, ICOMOS for conservation, UNESCO World Heritage in Paris, and Docomomo International, where our president, or actually the president of Docomomo International, attends our MAN meetings every year. So next year it's going to be held in India, in Delhi. Keep your eyes open. And this is the MAN network active on the internet. Please look up. And so we have been developing this. What do we got? Another problem?
Sorry, you can sip your water. We're just going to change the battery unless your voice is coming in.
Okay, but I'm not sure when Indians. You say December, it could be, I mean, my Indians, I mean, my friends, okay? Not your Indians, but my Indian friends are kind of, I mean, don't misunderstand me. I got a lot of Indian friends, so. I mean, I got a lot of Pakistani friends like you guys. So anyway, let me read this declaration, actually done by Indian friend here, Jangan Shah. Meeting regularly with each other in real and virtual spaces, we bring news of a common experience that the modern architecture of Asia shows how Asians can continue to be Asians, how their traditions are a history of renewal and their identities cannot be reduced to an insular whole, a monolithic existence. So we have regional kind of identity, but we have an identity as Asian. It is very, very important now in the 21st century because it's an Asian century. Well, I will skip all these here and go on because this is what's going to happen. This is not an atomic bomb. This is MAN. All right. So, and again, I get all these things coming up. MAN organization, you see here, just to let you know, these lines are like this because it's not an organization like IAP or JIA or UIA. It's loose, it's youthful, and you can do whatever. And this organization is going to change Asia in a sense, making everyone aware that all new things are not the only things. I mean, not to say it's bad, but we should begin to respect the tradition, reuse, because in so many 80 years, there's not going to be so much resources left on Earth, so to speak, for something new, etc. That they say. Anyways, so just an example of what we're doing. This is in Indonesia, in a city called Medan. What we are doing since 2002 is to look at the city center of the city of 2 million, which is the third largest city in Indonesia. These are my key words that I created: 21st century Asia, green and its conversion, the city Medan that not many people pay attention to. They don't go there because although they're rich in cultural heritage, it's not being capitalized. So we want to come in and propose an urban design with the community. So we went in 2002. As you know, I teach at a university, and I practice, but I want to take my resources, my students, to get involved in this workshop. Oops, now it's a catastrophe. Okay. I'm working with a historian, Dr. Shin Muramatsu of Tokyo University, who's founded MAN, along with others from all of Asia. Well, this is a workshop done in winter 2002. Medan is a historic city originally founded by Sultan Iskandar Muda in 1612. Later, Dutch colonial city refounded in 1865. And this was the image in the 20s and 30s. As you can see, it's really a nice colonial city with heritage buildings still there, but not being capitalized. This is one of the hotel owners, Thomas Kramer. This is Zhong Afi. He's a very, very powerful Chinese businessman who actually, under the Dutch rule, controlled the business community and became really, really wealthy, but also a benefactor for the city. His uncle really controlled Malaysia from Penang. These are some of the buildings. This is the Balai Kota, the town hall, on the left, designed or built in the early 1900s. And this Zhong Afi, the Chinese businessman, donated this clock tower for the town hall at the time of construction. Some of the buildings like this, 1918 building, Avros building, right near in the center district called Kesawan Square. Some nice Dutch buildings like this. I would love to own this one, make it into my studio if I have an opportunity. In some odd buildings like this, which is very interesting. And Zhong Afi residence, a very Chinese style, sort of a mansion in deterioration at this time because Mr. Zhong Afi's extended family lives here and is not really opening up. And we're trying to convince them to renovate and to make it into a more open kind of museum of sorts. So we did a documentation of over 600 buildings in Medan with these students, local students, Japanese students. This is Dr. Muramatsu. This is Professor Fujimori, who's a historian and award-winning architect who just was in charge of Venice Biennale Japan Pavilion in Venice this year. From 600 buildings, we narrowed it down to 150 buildings, and we call it Understanding Medan. It's on the website under Medan Architectural Heritage. And then next, we went back next summer, 2003, to work on the urban revitalization workshop to try to propose to the city that these heritage buildings could be reused into cultural tourism. So we had about 25 students from all over Japan and also from localities work on this project and presented in a public presentation to the Medan municipality. Just recently, last spring, about a year ago, we had an urban economic redevelopment workshop with a Dutch and American economist with us, proposing specifically for 3 buildings that are being developed at this time. 3 buildings that are on the lot of scheduled to be developed. Well, in process of all these, well, I wanted to take specific buildings and make some proposals. You know, what's next? Well, I just didn't want to remain as an architect in social responsibility. So now I wanted to be an architect and an activist. So, where do we go? Okay, so this is an idea. We go to a developer. We tell them, okay, you're developing a big shopping mall, you know, $100 million project. Well, can you give us $1 million, you know? And you can become rich with that shopping mall, but not respected as a cultural person. But with slow development, dropping $1 million or $500,000 to renovate or revitalize a building, then you can become a respected citizen of the community, a cultural person. So we went to this gangster-looking guy, Dr. Muramatsu. I'm a sort of honest-looking architect and honest-looking historian with these 2 gangster guys, and proposed. And he said, "Show me the numbers." So actually, we did in that workshop in 2006, and it wasn't these guys, but actually is a mafia boss's son. He was very interested. So our counterpart there is working with them to realize renovating a tobacco plantation office, which is a historic building. But in the meantime, 2 buildings that I quickly, and that's where you are in green, and we are in green, and blue is Taka, and red is us. Red is Medan. Okay, you like that, Taka? Okay, so this is Medan, and you know this is where the tsunami was. In the city center, where there are all these shopping malls in the last 5 years. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I didn't tell them that. I said, you know, nice buildings, but give us $500,000. And so what was happening was all these shopping malls were being developed around the center, which is very historic with town halls and whatnot. So I took 2 buildings, one right by the river, Old Delhi River, which is very important in founding of this city. On the other side of the river is an old historic military headquarters of sorts, and then the central business district. Well, this is sort of a shop house area that is sort of kind of dirty, and printers sort of shops are there. And here is an esplanade and a colonial town hall and so on. So this was really a gap that if this was brought up to date, and then the central business district can connect with this cultural quarters. So we propose various heritage walks, but more than that, I took 2 buildings and proposed. In fact, this is one of them. Built in 1920s, sort of Dutch modern style, colonial style. This is a river, and this is the central business district starts on the other side of, there's a bank building. So I wanted, what? Yes? Okay. I lost myself. You shocked me. Okay, this is the neighborhood, and you see the riverside.
Have your attention, please. Dear exhibitors, cargo gate is now open till 6:30 p.m. Dear exhibitors, cargo gate is now open till 6:30 p.m.
Thank you. We all thank you. All right, so this is, in the meantime, while we were thanking the organizers, this is the building in deterioration. The owner has gone away to Malaysia, and the printer is occupying this here for the last 40 years, paying no rent. But they were very nice to show us. So we had to identify the shop, the owner, in order for this project to really take off the ground. But as an architect, we wanted to.
Cargo lane is now open till 6:30 p.m.
Is it okay now? All right. So this is the central business, the nice area. You cross the river, the bridge to the Riverside building. If we can make this building a nice kind of posh restaurant building sort, this is a very low-cost development that can start the redevelopment process here. Because I don't know if any of you are, Trikai is Chinese, but the Chinese businessmen, if one is successful, if somebody starts a Chinese restaurant, it's successful. Everyone's starting a Chinese restaurant. This is all over the world, it's the way it is. A business mind. So if one is successful, then everyone's going to buy the property and it's going to take off. And this is my theory. So it has potential as a building. So we proposed the restaurant with the river walk, like this one. This is a successful building in Jakarta. It's a restaurant called Batavia, an old heritage building. So I take this as a model, and to locate it right by the river is very dirty. But I propose to the government to clean up certain sort of distance between this area. And so this is the building, and it could, in a collage sense, could become something like this. And the next project is this one. This is the town hall down below, and you see a nice building here, a long sort of. It was an old department store, the first department store in Medan, built in 1919. Nice details. But now it's occupied by two Indonesian mafia clans. And so we go talk to them. They're practicing karate and things. A nice stained glass ceiling like this. It's beautiful, and a double roof. It has potential. So we have to make projects like this as a socially responsible architect. Bring it to the developers. And this is it. So we kind of did the measurements of the building. We proposed to clean up like this and convert this into some a rental hall like this. Very simple, not really ruining the existing, but just making a minimum renovation. That way, it's preserved, it's commercially successful, and maybe the developers will invest a small amount of money. So this is what we're doing. We're still doing. We did this one for the 2006 workshop. Brought it to a couple of developers. Still working on it. Well, let's see. As I was getting closer to Asia and working on these projects, I began to get urged to do architecture again, having more confidence. So I was entering design competitions, but now, along with teaching, and research and advocacy planning and design, and like this, the international relation, I'm really in search of cultural expressions in architecture, which some of the speakers talked about today. Really, contextual architecture, like Madura will speak about, I think. In order to understand this, I think you must travel. I think if you have students here, you must travel and see other countries, cultures, and contexts like I have. I've lived two cultures. Then you can put yourself in perspective with respect to what you are and about to create in your architecture. And I'm fortunate, I've been taken by my parents to a country where people from many backgrounds live together. It opened up my eyes to see cultures which are not my own. By living in such an environment, one's own culture evolves beyond one's own. I consider myself Asian above any of my heritages. With the spirit, I began to explore my designs in various cultural contexts. And this is a museum for prehistory in Korea. Searching for a common thread in a myriad of unique cultures. So I'm more confident that I would not offend if I was to practice in another country in Asia with ridiculous designs that sometimes come up. Europeans come to China to do ridiculous designs. And I consider it post-colonial in a sense, and I really highly protest it. And so, and this is sort of the beginning, not that I've achieved anything because I didn't win this competition, an idea about a traditional wardrobe of Korea being sort of the inspiration for design in a site, very natural site, sort of bordered or surrounded by two hills like this, and so I sort of intervene with this structure that is sort of in a sense takes the form from the chogori, the traditional Korean wardrobe. The circulation moves down into the archaeological dig between the hills here, then rise up to the top of the hill to trace back the progression of the exhibition. And the archaeological museum located between the two hills takes a form from the traditional dress and from the site. Like this. This is a section, very sort of quiet kind of a building, but everything happens underground. But the building itself has the form that is very strong and in a way contrasted with the landscape. But this is something of an experiment for me because I've never done buildings like this, especially some of the works that the younger architects today have shown. But I'm having more confidence now that I understand the backgrounds for having this kind of cultural connotation, that I can begin to experiment with these kind of forms in my architecture. Because before I used to not understand what was going on. This is a work I made titled Horizon. Like this model, we live in a seemingly finite realm. But the suggestion, if you realize the possibilities, expands possibilities to infinity. And I don't want to limit my physical experience to a finite realm, meaning that I don't want to just stay in my own country or stay and just design. Maybe that was why I wanted to conduct a train or fly an airplane and travel to space. I want to explore the possibility of becoming a global architect, a human architect. Then perhaps I and my architecture will truly emerge. Thank you very much. Is it finished?